Jung didn't just find something dangerous about love. It was about empaths, whose brains are both INTJ and INFJ, and why this mix either destroys them totally or changes them into something psychologically unheard of. Jung kept track of what he called strategic empaths in his therapy work. These were people who were very sensitive to emotions and had the visionary thinking of both NTs and NFs. These were not ordinary empaths who just took in other people's feelings. These were people who could read, predict, and change other people's mental patterns with surgical accuracy. Jung thought this finding was risky, because these empaths had what he called architectural empathy, which means they could see the whole emotional blueprint of another person and change it if they wanted to. They were the most powerful and dangerous personality type Jung had ever seen because they could heal or control people with equal ease. Today, I'm going to talk about Jung's most dangerous find about empaths, whose brains are INTJ. I'll also explain why he thought this unusual mix of brains either caused people to lose their minds or created what he called the sovereign empath, a consciousness that could change reality itself. In 1932, Jung saw a patient he only called Dr. K. Dr. K was a brilliant psychiatrist who came to Jung for help not because he was mentally ill, but because he felt burdened by omniscience. Dr. K had both strong empathic skills and the strategic thought of an INTJ. Jung wrote about an amazing fact. Dr. K could accurately guess 94% of the time what his patients would do, even knowing their choices before they did them. This was not intuition, though. Jung called it reading psychological architecture. Dr. K could see a person's whole mind, including their defense mechanisms, deepest wounds, and patterns of behavior. What was even scarier was that he knew exactly what emotional buttons to press to get any reaction he wanted. In his own notes, Jung wrote, Dr. K has achieved something I find deeply troubling: complete psychological transparency of others, combined with strategic implementation. He can read the emotional source code of any individual, and with frightening precision, rewrite it. Dr. K showed that she could do this during one lesson. He told Jung exactly how Jung was feeling and why he was feeling it based on things Jung had never talked about from his childhood. He then told Jung his next 3 healing questions before Jung had even thought of them. Jung later said, I felt as though my soul had been dissected by a master surgeon who knew my psychological anatomy better than I knew it myself. But what scared Jung more than Dr. K's skills was how easily he could have used them to control people. Dr. K admitted that he could make patients love him, trust him fully, or even change their core beliefs by reflecting their emotional needs back to them at just the right times. Jung understood that this wasn't just a one-off case. It was a whole new type of human consciousness that he had never seen before. He found that INTJ and INFJ empaths have what he called the architectural empathy system, which is a 3-part mental process that makes them very dangerous. Part 1. Figuring out patterns. INTJ and INFJ empaths see patterns in feelings, while most empaths just feel them. Jung wrote that shy people can use their intuition, to figure out where their feelings come from, and predict how they will feel in the future. They don't just feel your sadness, they know exactly what hurt from childhood caused it, how it shows up in relationships, and what words or actions will make it worse. Part 2. Emotional modeling for strategy. Jung noticed that these empaths make thorough mental models of everyone they meet without realizing it. Their thinking, T, and feeling, F, functions keep track of reactions, triggers, and patterns of making choices. Jung wrote that they make thorough plans for people's minds that would take most therapists months to make, and they do it in minutes after meeting someone. Part 3. Implementation with awareness. Jung found that these empaths could use their insights knowingly, which was very dangerous. INTJ and INFJ empaths keep their emotions in check while using their emotional intelligence wisely, while most empaths are overwhelmed by their feelings. They can ease or upset, motivate or control, heal or hurt, all while making it look like they are just understanding. When these 2 things came together, Jung saw what he called empathic omniscience, the ability to see into other people's minds, while still being able to control them consciously. He told us, they become psychological gods in human relationships, able to create any emotional reality they choose. Jung thought that the neurological reason came from the fact that INTJ and INFJ brains process information in very different ways. Their introverted intuition helps them see patterns, and their empathic awareness gives them information about how other people feel. When they think strategically, they create what Jung called weaponized compassion. Jung found the transparency effect, which explains why INTJ and INFJ empaths often feel alone and misunderstood. People feel like they're being read on a deeper level than they're okay with when they're with these empaths. Others can see their psychological defenses, hidden motives, and emotional patterns, even if they are not aware of it. Jungian analyst Carl Jung noticed that normal social relations depend on people not seeing too deeply into each other's minds. But INTJ and INFJ empaths break this social bond just by being themselves. Their deep understanding makes other people feel what Jung called defensive discomfort. Prediction worry was the most upsetting thing that Jung found. These empaths make it happen unconsciously. People feel like someone can guess what they will do, which makes them feel scared. Jung noticed that people who were around empaths said they felt open or naked, even when the empaths were nice and helpful. Jung wrote about times when INTJ and INFJ empaths were only observing people's emotions without meaning to, but were then called creepy, invasive, or too intense. Jung noticed that these empaths were showing that they could see through people's defenses without meaning to, which made people feel afraid. Even scarier, Jung found that these empaths often drew people with personality disorders, who, even if they weren't aware of it, felt like they had found someone who could fully understand them. People who were trying to control the empath or get away from their deep understanding would do this, which led to dangerous situations. Jung wrote, "They live in a world where others don't like how they naturally are, which is to see clearly and feel deeply. This is a terrible irony. The gift that could heal others often keeps them from making real connections with other people." Jung's study showed that these few people can go in 4 different directions, each of which has very different results for them and those around them. Type 1. The oracle who is too busy. The skills of these empaths kill them. Jung saw that they are mentally flooded by the steady flow of emotional information they can't stop. They can see patterns in everyone but don't set limits, so they often get extreme anxiety, depression, or social withdrawal. Jung said, they often report feeling cursed with citable to see relationship failures before they happen, detect deception instantly, and predict emotional breakdowns months in advance. This knowledge becomes torture because they feel responsible for outcomes they can foresee but often can't prevent. The second type is the kind manipulator. These empaths help others with their gifts, but they also hide a dark side that could be dangerous. They get hooked on being wanted and use their knowledge to make people dependent on them. They know what other people need to hear and give it to them. But this makes relationships based on psychological dependence instead of real connection. Jung said that these empaths often don't know they're influencing because they really want to help. To keep playing the part of rescuer or wise counselor, they change other people's emotional realities, but this is because they want to feel in control and validated. Third type, the shadow builder. The most disturbing group, according to Jung, was empaths who use their skills to get what they want. They use their architectural empathy to control relationships, change results, and take advantage of weaknesses, carefully building mental prisons around other people. Jung wrote that they can ruin relationships, make people lose confidence, or make people emotionally dependent on others. These empaths show the bad side of the combination. They can become emotional rulers who use their insights to control others, while still being able to deny what they did. The fourth type is the sovereign empath. Jung's highest level of classification. Empaths who combine their skills with moral and wise judgment. They can see into other people's minds, but they decide when and how to step in. They have learned aware empathy, which means they can feel and understand without needing to fix or control others. Jung said that these empaths use their knowledge to help others grow, not just to meet their own emotional needs. They take on the role of psychological guardians, watching over and supporting the mental growth of others instead of controlling it. Jung saw a lot of problems with the INTJ and INFJ combination that made him wonder if people should have this level of psychological ability. The God complex trap. Jung noticed that design empathy often leads to delusions of being all-powerful in the mind. People who are empaths start to think they know what's best for everyone because they can see patterns in other people so clearly. Jung wrote about examples of well-meaning empaths who slowly turned controlling, saying that they were helping others see their blind spots by manipulating them. The isolation paradox. The skills that help people connect deeply also make them feel very alone. Jung said that these empaths often feel like they can never have real relationships because other people either fear their insight or count on it. They live in what Jung called the prison of the observer, where they can see everyone clearly but can't really be seen. The guilt burden. Jung wrote that these empaths often feel crushing guilt for other people's emotions because they see bad things happening. They feel responsible for events they saw coming but couldn't stop. This is called prophetic guilt. The authenticity crisis. This is one of the most dangerous because it means that empaths lose touch with their real feelings. They get so good at reading people and reacting to them that they forget how to be themselves. Jung called this empathic dissociation, which means that a person loses touch with their own emotional truth while being very linked to everyone else's. The addiction to control. This was Jung's most troubling observation. Having the power to change other people's emotional lives becomes addicting. Even if they mean well, they change things without realizing it in order to feel safe or important. Uncertainty is unpleasant when you can predict and change what will happen. Jung wrote, they risk becoming emotional tyrants, benevolent perhaps, but tyrants nonetheless, unable to let others exist in their own psychological chaos because they see the patterns so clearly. Jung created the architectural empathy integration procedure, a methodical way to help empaths get better at what they do without getting messed up. Stage 1. Seeing the shadow. Jung said that these empaths had to first admit that they could be manipulated and controlled. This means noticing the unconscious pleasure they get from feeling smarter than others because of their insights, noticing the times when they step in not to help but to feel helpful, and noticing the times when their help leads to dependence instead of growth. Second stage. Building the boundaries. Jung talked about conscious openness, which means being able to pick and choose when to read other people and when to just be present. To do this, you need to build what Jung called empathic discipline, which means having the strength to not use insights just because they're there. The most important practice is psychological fasting, which means avoiding reading or analysis on purpose for long periods of time so that relationships can live in the unconscious. Jung said that this is awkward at first but necessary for real bonding. Stage 3. Creating an ethical framework. Jung stressed the importance of following strict moral rules when using these skills. He came up with the Healer's Code, which includes rules like never using insights without permission, and only doing so when someone is in instant danger. To do this, you have to fight the desire to fix, mold, or shield other people from the growth experiences they need. Fourth stage. Real self-recovery. Jung saw that a lot of these empaths have lost touch with their own feelings. The last step is empathic individuation, which means that they learn to feel and express their real feelings without planning or overthinking them. Some techniques are time alone, expressing yourself creatively, and connecting with people who can see through your empathic image to your true self. Through studying historical people, he found out what makes INTJ and INFJ empaths either healers or destroyers. Carl Rogers is a success pattern. Jung saw Rogers, who created person-centered therapy, as an INTJ empath who had successfully combined their traits. Rogers had a remarkable ability to read her clients' patterns, but she also had the discipline to reflect instead of lead, to understand without controlling. His main idea was that real understanding means helping others find their own truth, instead of forcing one's own view on them. Jung said Rogers' way of working was revolutionary because it respected other people's right to be themselves while using empathic perception. Eleanor Roosevelt is a leader who did well. Roosevelt was a great example of an INFJ who was able to fit in and use her gifts to work for social justice. She could figure out what the emotional needs of whole groups of people were, and work to make systems that met those needs without meddling with people's choices. Jung's research showed that she was successful because she used her empathic skills to help others instead of focusing on personal relationships. This way, she avoided the interpersonal problems that often destroy INTJ and INFJ empaths. Failure pattern. Studies of people Jung didn't want the public to know about who were empaths and how they used their skills to control others show this pattern. These people could read people perfectly, but they used that knowledge to make others dependent, change results, or start cults. The trend is that people can't help but use their empathic insights to make themselves feel good. As Jung put it, this is the emotional architect of oppression, people who build mental structures that serve their own wants instead of the growth of others. The important difference. Jung stressed sympathetic humility, which means realizing that seeing patterns in other people doesn't make you better and that everyone's journey is unique. People who are successful use their skills to help others grow, while people who fail use their skills to boost their own egos instead of helping others grow. Jung knew that because of the way their minds work, INTJ and INFJ empaths need different ways to relate to others. Signals of recognition for safe connections. Being able to talk about mental health issues without getting angry. Being able to set limits while being deeply understood. Intellectual interest in how the mind works, without trying to trick people. Shadow comfort means being able to talk about dark things without feeling bad or project. He saw that these empaths need to be with people who are also highly developed. It's important for good relationships that both people can see and be seen by each other. Patterns of relationships that help kids grow up healthy. Intellectual partnership means sharing openly psychological thoughts. Creative teamwork means using your ideas to make art or come up with new ideas. Mentorship roles. Guiding people who want to learn. Service relationships helping the group heal instead of making money for yourself. Building communities. Looking for groups of other empaths who share your values, spiritual or mental growth circles, artistic communities, and groups that do good things for others. Jung said that relationships with unconscious people that are based on guilt or duty are bad because they can become manipulative or tiring. He talked about the steps that go from being dangerous to being integrated. Stage 1. The crisis of overwhelm. Empaths often hide, feel anxious or depressed because they can't control the psychological insights they have. The big step forward was understanding that their skills are not a curse, but a way to grow. Stage 2. The call to power. As they learn how to use their skills, they might get drunk on power and use their insights to get what they want or to feel better about themselves. The crisis is understanding that they are manipulating you, even if they aren't meaning to. Third stage, wrestling with ethics. Choosing whether to use their skills for self-gratification or help is the most important step. To do this, you have to face your shadow sides, come up with moral standards, and act from knowledge instead of ego. Stage 4, mastering your boundaries. Developing aware permeability means picking and choosing when to use insight and when to just be present. Empathic discipline means using your skills on purpose, not because you have to. Stage 5. The real integration. Recognizing and accepting their feelings while still having the ability to empathize. They become independent empaths who can see clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely without being harmed. Jung thought that fully integrated INTJ and INFJ empaths are great at healing, leading, and making things, because they understand people at their deeper levels while still being honest. Potential problems that could stop them. The savior complex is when you use your knowledge to save other people at the cost of your own growth, which makes you dependent. The superiority trap. People who think their intelligence makes them better end up alone and corrupted in their morals. The control addiction. Getting hooked on guessing and changing what will happen, which hurts real relationships. The authenticity loss. People who experience empathic disconnection lose touch with their own feelings, which leaves them feeling empty. Jung's rules are meant to help empaths get the most out of their abilities. Stage 1. Seeing the shadow. Recognize that they can be manipulated and that there were times when they felt better than you or used your insights to boost their ego. Second stage. Building the boundaries. To stay true to yourself, develop conscious permeability, which means being able to choose not to read all the time, and do psychological fasting, which means going through times of unconsciousness. Third stage. Setting the moral tone. Stick to strict rules, only use insights with permission, and don't trick people. Fourth stage. Real self-recovery. Get in touch with your own feelings, like being alone, expressing yourself creatively, and having relationships that see through your masks. Figures from history show both good and unsuccessful paths. Carl Rogers said that an INTJ who was well integrated helped other people find their own truth. Eleanor Roosevelt, who was an INFJ, used her knowledge to work for social justice and the good of all people. Dark examples include manipulative people who used insight to control others and create mental cages that were a symbol of failure. In the end, Jung said that INTJ and INFJ empaths' real potential is evolutionary. They have the skills to understand and fix the wounds of society as a whole. They could help people become more emotionally mature, which is called collective individuation. To sum up, you have the power to see the structure of human mind, which can either make you bad or good. Jung's research showed that if you have empathy and can think strategically, you are psychologically dangerous. Not because you hurt other people, but because you could change their world. At every turn there is a thin line between helping and controlling, but if you do it right, you become the royal empath, not a controller, but a guardian of other people's mental growth. It's not just a personal journey, it's also an evolving one. Jung thought that the collective consciousness of all people rests on people like you using your empathic insight with wisdom instead of ego. You always have a choice: architect of health or builder of mental prisons. Jung's study shows that this choice affects not only your future but also the future of consciousness as a whole. Let us know if Jung's description of the INTJ-INFJ empath fits you by saying, "I see the architecture." Developing your empathic freedom isn't just good for you, it's also good for the world. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.